Hello, this is Chad Young, and this is my presentation for the week 3 multimedia discussion of MPA 540, Generations in Management. So I was born in December of 1978, so I'm kind of right smack dab in there of Gen X, Gen Y, but I definitely identify probably more with Gen X. That is I look for job security in a job. It's something that even annoys me about myself. In fact, I wish I was that, intrepid worker who is ready to quit a job and move on to something new and exciting. But the reality is I do like a little bit of stability. I like knowing where I'm going to be Monday morning so that I can plan my life and not there's enough insanity in life without insanity in work as well. As far as dress, I identify again with Gen X probably. I actually do dress very well for work. Shirt and tie kind of at the minimum, sometimes a suit. But that is more the work of my wife than it is my own. Left to my own devices, I would probably be much more business cash, low end, definitely. As far as what I look for in a schedule, I definitely appreciate work-life balance. It's not an extremely flexible schedule for me at the county, but just having a 980 is a big deal. I mean, having that Friday off is important to me. I've played with other schedules. It just happens to be that this 7:30 to 5:30 is the one that works best for me, and I like it. But I definitely like an element of flexibility because, some days you do want to leave early to go to an event, or just because you can't be at the office any longer, you're going to blow your brains out. I've certainly seen some of the other characteristics, especially looking at the baby boomers. My previous supervisor was a baby boomer, and it was really interesting because he had no problem giving me the flexibility that I wanted, and was always looking for my input, which is something I very much appreciated. In fact, I think he let me drive things even more than he did. But that may have been kind of a synergy between the boomers and the Gen Xers. Now, if he was a baby boomer who was more managerially driven, it may not have been so much. He may have been annoyed by my desire to have input, but he'd always been kind of in a lower supervisorial role throughout his career. So I think he was perfectly happy to give me that flexibility and let me kind of go with it. He again, looking at him, he was much more business casual, but still high end business casual. In fact, he would also wear suits to work. Although it's funny, he is now retired and come back to the county as a consultant, and he's in there with his jeans and a polo shirt, or he might wear slacks, but he's definitely on the much more casual end these days, and it's been funny to see. And I think to some extent that reflects yes, there are differences between the generations, but some of these are actually where the workplaces move towards, and we just use each of the generations as kind of the icons of that time. But a lot of the office has moved in that direction as well, not just the newest generational addition to the office. Now, of course, I'm talking right now about some of the more superficial elements and differences. When we get to motivations, it's a little different. I myself, again, am more motivated by having input and by being able to steer the ship, or tell me where we're going, and I'll find a path, and I'll work with you to find a path. But I'm really not interested in being told every single step of the job I'm going to do. I really kind of want some autonomy on that. As far back as it was, I think Mary Parker Follett was the patron saint of the Gen X and Gen Ys and on, because she saw motivation as coming from empowerment. Empowering workers was a way to motivate them, and I that certainly is what works for these younger generations going forward. And we can't talk about motivation without talking about Maslow. I mean, of course, and I've said this in previous presentations, the basic needs are going to be met by pretty much any job out there, at least today. You're going to get your salary, your compensation should take care of your safety, security, food, water, all that good stuff. Motivation, honestly, no matter what generation you're in, is going to come from hitting those top three levels there, or the psychological needs and the self-fulfillment needs. To the extent that can come from a career, or does come from a career, is obviously going to vary between the generations. But it is important to target, whatever that means for that person, and if that's defined by their generation or by their personality or whatever that is. As a manager, that's what you're there to do. You're there to motivate that person in the way that gets them to produce the best work. I don't think whether you're talking about generation, personality types, cultural differences, any of those, there just really is not a one size fits all in any of those scenarios. So, and generation is no different. So finding those points that are motivating for that specific group or that specific person really is what you're looking for. And we obviously need to manage the differences where it may cause friction, but ultimately you want to be managing that friction and still trying to meet the needs of each of your individual employees. Well, thank you for listening, and I will see you all next week.